Just an introduction to this video. It's going to be pretty long. I'm not expecting you guys to just like sit there and just like watch the entire thing. You can kind of just treat this as like a podcast where you could just like sit it down and listen to it. I think the later episodes are going to be definitely a lot shorter. The footage definitely, like, already the footage came out to like 2 hours, so let's see how much I can cut it down. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and if you guys have any critiques and ways that this could be better, please let me know. I want to make this as best as it can be. Thanks. Enjoy. Hi everyone, this is Chris Charpentier. You probably know me already. If not, hi. And I wanted to do this video series called Reviews from Quarantine, and I thought it would be just like a fun thing to do while, all of this coronavirus stuff is happening. First off, I just want to have the introduction be this update on what the coronavirus has done so far. It's kind of been a crazy couple of weeks. When it was first starting to come up, I didn't really think much of it. As the story started developing throughout the past couple of months, it started becoming more serious and started showing what it really does, which is like it can spread through anybody. Anybody can get sick. Not everybody's going to die, but it can spread to people who can die. Specifically, here in all of California, we've been ordered to shelter inside our homes, and we can only come out for essentials like groceries, medicine. There's probably other things that I'm not really thinking of right now, but that seems to be like the main thing that everybody's doing right now. It's definitely affected my place at Biola University. They've now ordered us to get out of the school. At this point, I believe everybody's out. It's been like 4 days so far since I've been back home. Maybe like 3 or 4 days so far. And I'm doing okay. I'm just kind of looking at everything that's happening. It's just like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, if I told somebody a couple months ago that we're going to be all fighting over toilet paper of all things, they'd be like, you're crazy. But yeah, so that seems to be the biggest update on my story with the coronavirus. So now we're going to get into the first section of the main structure that I want to have for Reviews from Quarantine. I'm going to be reviewing one TV show, one movie, one video game, and one album. First item of business is our TV show, which I watched the show called Beastars. It's a new anime on Netflix based off of a manga series of the same name, and it basically follows this high school setting with anthropomorphic animals, and there's this conflict between carnivores and herbivores, and you just get to see our main character Legoshi, who is a wolf and is kind of looked down upon because wolves are usually the ones who eat people, and Legoshi starts to realize he has this like urge to eat herbivores because they are supposed to be the prey. And then he meets this girl named Haru, who is a dwarf rabbit who he starts to develop feelings for, but he also has an incident where he almost eats her. She didn't realize that it was him, but he's got to figure out, like, does he actually love her and want to be with her, or does he just want to eat her? It's a weird concept, I know, but I really like the show. I have issues with it, mainly just because it has a big lack of focus in the first couple episodes. Like, the first 3 episodes feel very all over the place. It wants to introduce all these different plot lines, but it's not doing it in a very cohesive way. It has an interesting first episode to the point where I was like, okay, I'm into this. But then the second and third episode kind of just drag a bit. If you don't like land the beginning, I don't know why you would want to watch the rest of it. If I just based what I thought of the show like off of the first 3 episodes, I wouldn't like it. But once it gets to that 4th episode, and up until I'd say the 10th episode, maybe ninth, it's a really, really solid show. I really like it because you're seeing like these characters go through their own personal conflicts that we as humans go through as well. And I think they do it in a really interesting way because they're putting it in the context of these animals. They do get into what it's like for them to feel sexual attraction. They don't go like very like graphic in terms of the visuals, and I can totally understand why that would turn some people off. And I know for me it's weird to sit in those scenes, but the reason why I think it works is because they set up that this is almost like our society. So, and they experience emotions that we deal with as humans as well. But for the most part, it doesn't really happen that often. And I would say the main conflict that happens when you're seeing Legoshi like deal with his inner emotions, that's where the show really works. And that's where I am like, I do recommend it. Overall, I give this like like around a 6 to 7 out of 10, and I feel pretty confident in saying that. Next section is our video game of this week, the Resident Evil 3 demo. I really liked it. It wasn't like amazing or anything. I think my biggest problem was it didn't really capture me with the characters and the story. In terms of like visuals, I think it looks amazing. My PS4 was like the fan in it was really like you could hear it really badly, and I was like, is this like a really like high powered game? What was very different right from the start was just how open it was. Like already in this demo, it's giving you this very open area of like a street type setting. Like you're in the city, it's on fire, there's some zombies going around. The zombies seemed a bit more harder to kill in this one. It took me like 3 or 4 shots to the head to kill a zombie, which was a lot more than in Resident Evil 2. It might be because they've just evolved, but they don't look different from Resident Evil 2. Yeah, it just felt like a nuisance, like just having to sit there, like try and shoot the zombies, like in the head, like a few times. And yeah, that was the part I didn't really like a whole lot. But just the open world setting of this was, I think, the biggest upgrade and the thing I liked the most. I could just explore and be like, there's like this store over here. They seem to have their light on. Let me go in there and go check. And most of the time, it would be open. You have this new monster that's like, it can't be killed, but it has like really like, it's really powerful, very strong. It can just like knock you down, and so you have to like move around to try and get away. Like once he showed up at the very end of the demo, like it was actually scary. And he has this new power where he can attach himself to another regular zombie and make him like a more powerful zombie or something like that. I didn't know the specifics because all I did was just run away. And as you're trying to leave, he like punches through a wall and like just like stares at you straight at your face, and then that's when the demo ends. It's a little, I don't like how it just like ends so abruptly with the demo, but it does give like a good indication to what the game is going to be. So overall, I enjoyed the demo. I think the more action-oriented feel of it all is a little not my taste. But yeah, so I like it. My rating would probably be between a 7 and an 8 out of 10. Okay, so now this next section is our movie, which is Contagion. The movie is a very realistic approach to what it would be like for the world to experience a deadly disease that just like goes around the entire planet. And so, what do you know? We're dealing with something kind of like that right now. My favorite aspect of it is how fast-paced it is. It's a perfect escalation of what happens in the situations, because it starts at like only a few people know, but once it gets more into the public and starts becoming like, oh my god, everybody's getting that disease, then it starts getting crazy for everybody. Then you start getting like what we're doing now, where they're just telling everybody like self-isolate, go into quarantine. We don't want you interacting with anybody. The entire movie, you're following a bunch of different characters at once, and you're never really connecting like emotionally with any of them. But that's also not the point. Like, the main character is the world. The world is the main character. We're seeing its entire perspective, and the only way we can do that is by watching all these different stories of these different characters. There's a couple of cheesy lines here and there. I remember one of the first ones was when they're doing the autopsy on Gwyneth Paltrow's character, and these doctors are like looking and seeing like, oh my god, like there's like they found basically like this serious like virus that's that's in her, and the doctor he's working with is like, should I call someone? And then the doctor's like, call everyone. I'm like, there's even another part when Lawrence Fishburne's character is on a call with one of the scientists who has her own story going on, and she's like, anyways, Merry Christmas, and then they hang up, and then Lawrence Fishburne just sits there just like, Merry Christmas. And I'm like, it's just like little lines like that. I think that was really my only huge issue. In terms of other things I really liked, like I said, how fast paced it is, but I chalked that up to the editing. There's some really good like editing here. Like, everything is perfectly paced for each scene. It cuts when it needs to. I've always seen good editing as there's like this rhythm that's happening. It's the perfect rhythm that happens for a scene. If it's more intense, if it's more slower, like there's always just a rhythm to it that fits that scene perfectly. It'll even fit that point in the movie so that there's a natural progression of high points and low points, and it all transitions into each other very like seamlessly. And Contagion is just one of those movies where I believe that it's some of the best editing I've ever seen for a movie. Another one of the best things I've ever seen within this movie is the music. The music helps with the pacing as well. It's like pulsating beats that are like that underscore like what's happening within the story. It's these people who are frantically trying to figure out like, okay, what's happening? We need to do this. We're freaking out. Oh gosh. And the score, it just exemplifies that. It's one of the best scores I've heard in a very long time. And I think the whole movie comes together in the very end. The ending is so good. It's one of the best endings I've ever seen in a movie. It basically ends like with them, like they're finding a vaccine. Matt Damon upstairs with his camera, seeing all the different pictures that his wife took when she was on her business trip in Hong Kong. They even, and I don't know why I didn't notice this on the first watch, but they do give a little bit of focus on the shot, the picture of Gwyneth Paltrow's character and the chef, who are like almost like holding hands, like, hey, we're taking a picture with the chef. Like, I didn't even think about like, oh God, what does he touch? And you don't even realize that until it finally transitions to the shot in the jungle where you're seeing these bats go like that probably have these diseases, and it shows the bat. It's eating from the banana, and it takes it and starts eating it above this pig farm. He drops the food that's just been in his mouth. It drops on the floor, and the pig, it eats it. And then that very pig is one of the pigs that is sold to these people who run the restaurant. And that chef that took the picture with Gwyneth Paltrow, he's working. He's like he's putting his hands inside the pig in order to get it ready for to be food. And this person comes, is like, I'm guessing he's saying like, hey, this woman, she wants to take a picture with you. And so he's like, okay, wipes his hands on his shirt with all the different like stuff that he's been working with on the pig, and he just like touches her, and then it just shows the day one. I'm like, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. It's a chain reaction. Like when one little thing happens, it just spreads. Whether it be paranoia, fear, the disease, it just spreads. I love this movie. Again, my rating is like an 8 to 9 out of 10. Finally, this last section is for our album, which I'm very excited to talk about it. I'm going to be talking about the new Weekend album, After Hours. This is my favorite Weekend album, for sure. Just because I think that there's a really good focus into what he wants to talk about. The story with this album, from what I'm able to gather, is that he relies on this woman for love and acceptance of himself, and she like loves him so much, even though he's a very toxic person. He doesn't reciprocate that love. In fact, no matter how much love that this person gives to him, he just still does these terrible things, like cheat on her, do drugs, and basically just ruin his life. And finally, it gets to a point, and that's where this album starts, is that he loses this woman and just kind of just spirals out of control. But on the production side of things, it's taken heavily from like 80s synth pop. It really fits like the atmosphere that he's trying to go for. I mean, the title is After Hours, which like a lot of things, and I'll get into this later, like a lot of the visuals for this album are totally taken from like Martin Scorsese crime films, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The title After Hours, I think it's a direct reference to Martin Scorsese's movie of the same name. A lot of the atmospheric production and topic focus throughout the entire album feels like it's just like the thoughts and craziness that comes when you're staying up after hours doing like drugs, having sex, like this superstar lifestyle. You're staying up like past everybody's bedtime, and you're just sitting there alone in the city. This after hours setting, I think, is really punctuated in the song Blinding Lights, where you have the pre-chorus, which is the city's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me, I can't see clearly when you're gone. The melodies and everything on this album is so well put together. It sounds so good. But in terms of the relationship that is talked about through this album, the structure is essentially, it starts out with his sadness, then it's him indulging in all his vices, and then it finally gets to the point where he's like, oh my god, I do need you. I need you to come back. Finally ends with him like saying like, I don't want this life anymore. And that's how it ends. I think Until I Bleed Out as a closer, while it fits topically, I think it's a bit short. Like it's a pretty short song. Like most of the songs here are like about 4 to 4.5 minutes, maybe a little longer. And so this one was like, I think 3 minutes or something like that, which I know it doesn't sound short compared to most songs, but for this album, it is pretty short. I think there's a couple songs where the melodies and the tunes aren't really that strong. I think Escape from LA is a big indication of that. Overall, I really enjoyed this album a lot. Definitely probably my favorite album of the year. So my rating would have to be between an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Okay, everybody. Now we've hit the final section of this Reviews from Quarantine as a whole. I decided I wanted to do a Q&A, so I posted a thing on my story letting you guys send in questions of what you wanted to ask. So the first question I got was, how many pandemic movies will be a part of this review series, and what is the primary focus? However many I like. I just wanted to just talk about random stuff that I will be watching, listening to, playing across quarantine, and even past it. And the next question is, what is your daily routine during quarantine? I don't really have a set routine at the very moment. What I want to try and do is do some exercise in the morning and at night. But between that, I'm either going to be doing homework, and then once that's all done, I'm just doing research for this video series, because I do want to make this into like a cool thing. In order to do that, I want to go in depth, and probably have more of like a set, like this is exactly what I want to say for each of the different items. Any free time that I get will probably be used spending like just watching like random movies, watching YouTube, most likely playing Animal Crossing, because oh my gosh, that game is going to take up my entire life, and my soul has been sold to Tom Nook, and I suggest that you all do the same. Third question, this isn't really a question, but this person asked, give me a list of movies to watch. Pretty straightforward. Since I don't know exactly what you have as a streaming service, I'm going to give you at least 2 movies that you can watch on each streaming service that I have personally. On YouTube, you can find this documentary called Grounded, The Making of The Last of Us. On Netflix, the 2 movies that I have is, the first one is Good Time by the Safdie brothers, which they just put out. Their newest movie was Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler. But the film that they had before this is called Good Time, which stars Robert Pattinson. The second movie I would recommend, and I don't think enough people talk about, is the movie Cloverfield. On Hulu, I recommend the movie Loose. Another one that's available on Hulu, but also Amazon Prime, is this horror movie called The Descent. On Disney Plus, it was hard to pick movies that like I don't think enough people talk about. I guess the first one would be Beauty and the Beast. I know that's like seen as like one of the best Disney movies, but nowadays I don't hear too many people talk about it in depth. Another one would be 10 Things I Hate About You. Prime Video, I highly recommend the Jonah Hill film Mid-90s. Another one I recommend is this anime film called Millennium Actress. So lastly, we have HBO, but I highly recommend the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. If you watched it as a kid, watch it now. More importantly, the movie I recommend the most from that streaming service is Blind Spotting. Next question, finally. Country Bears versus Paddington. I haven't watched Paddington, which really sucks. I need to watch Paddington. But what I can tell you is that Country Bears, as a kid, that movie was so good. Honestly, I'm sorry, Paddington, but I'm going to have to give it to Country Bears on this one. Next question. What are some movies you think are just plain fun, regardless of artistic merit? All the Final Destination films, the Fast and the Furious franchise as well. I would even say the newest Avenger films, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. So, next question. Who will be the most popular director 10 years from now? I think if the movie Dune goes really well at the end of this year, I think the director Denis Villeneuve might be a really popular director. Another one I could see in terms of horror, at least, like I feel like Ari Aster, the director of Hereditary and Midsommar. Okay, lastly, what are your favorite zombie movies? I think this is a really great question. I'll just I'll get this out of the way, but like the 28 Days, Weeks Later series in the movie Wreck. And then finally, the best zombie movie of them all, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. So yeah, well, I guess that's it. Thank you for watching or just listening to the first episode of Reviews from Quarantine. I hope you enjoyed. I want to make this review series much better in the future by every episode. Hopefully I can get some more guests on. If anybody wants to join, please let me know. I'm down to talk with literally anybody. And yeah, in terms of what you guys should be doing, invest in hobbies while you're at home. Please stay inside. And while you're inside, go watch some movies, listen to music, go take a run, and exercise. Like, do anything to keep you busy during this very intense time that we're in. Stay safe out there. Stay inside. Wash your hands. Please wash your hands. And we'll get through this. But I just wanted to say, next week's episode, the TV show is going to be I'm Not Okay With This, which is on Netflix. The video game is going to be Animal Crossing, kind of just talking about my week 1 thoughts on it. And The album will be the new Childish Gambino album that just surprise released last night as I was working on this. And the movie is going to be Outbreak, which is another Contagion-like thriller that has been getting really popular on Netflix. So yeah, we'll talk about that next time. See ya. Bye bye.